In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us? What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our peoples than war and the threat of war?
That there is an oncoming reconquering of the world by Jesus Christ and his armies, but there is a lot of people at home that are going to try to pin this as a fake alien invasion. Could it be a double SWAT? The
first time I met him, that space-based weapons were a dangerous, destabilizing, too costly, unnecessary, untestable, unworkable idea, and that the last card that was being held was the extraterrestrial enemy card. The intensity with which he said that made me realize that he knew something that he was too afraid to mention. He was too afraid to talk about it. He would not tell me the details. I'm not sure that I would have absorbed them if he had told me the details or even believed him in 1974. But there was no question that that man knew, and had a need to know, I found out later. There's no doubt in my mind that Wernher von Braun knew about the extraterrestrial issue. And when he explained to me the reasons for why weapons were going to be put into space, the enemies against whom we were going to build these weapons, and that all of that was a lie, and when he mentioned the extraterrestrial card, that extraterrestrials, aliens he called them, were going to be identified as the final enemy against whom we were going to build space-based weapons back in '74, the way he said it to me, there was no doubt in my mind that he knew something that he was too afraid to talk about. Wernher von Braun never spoke to me about any of the details that he knew, or might have known, or thought about related to extraterrestrials, except that extraterrestrials were one day going to be identified as an enemy against whom we are going to have to build an enormous space-based weapon system. Even though he didn't give me the details, however, the look in his eyes made it clear to me that he knew that there was something going on that was a big secret that he could not divulge. Wernher von Braun actually told me that the spin was a lie, that the premise for space-based weaponry, the reasons that we're going to be given.
All praises to YAHAWAH, SHAM, YAHAWASHI, to blindness to the elders and the apostles who the Lord has set up to show us the way to the kingdom of heaven. Habakkuk 2 verse 3. I'm going to read it in the NLT. This vision is for a future time. It describes the end, and it will be fulfilled. If it seems slow in coming, wait patiently, for it will surely take place. It will not be delayed. And that vision, as you see, at appointed time is known, because planes have been made. This whole technological system has been put in place for also that other vision, which is the MOTB. Revelation 12 verse 7. I'm going to read it in the NLT also. Then there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon and his angels. And this is also a part of the other vision, because remember, the prophets were given visions for the time to come. I'm going to read it again, Revelation 12 verse 7. Then there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon and his angels, and the dragon lost the battle, and he and his angels were forced out of heaven, meaning forced out of rulership. 2 Esdras 13 in the Good News Translation. After 7 days, I had a dream, which is a vision, during the night, and I looked and saw a wind rising from the sea and stirring up all its waves. As I watched, this wind made something like the figure of a man, which is YAHAWASHI, come up out of the heart of the sea. The heavens can be considered a sea too, because it's the Shemayan. It's made up of the same elements, so above and so below, which is the water. That man was flying among the clouds of heaven. Wherever he turned his face to look, everything that fell under his gaze trembled. Wherever an utterance came from his mouth, all who heard his voice melted as wax melts when it feels the fire. What can do that? The chariot, which is going to be zapping people. Concentrated fire will be coming from the chariots. Verse 5, I kept watching these things, and an innumerable multitude of people came together from the four winds of the heaven to fight against the man who had came up from the sea, which is the dragon and his angels, which is the army people today of the world, which will try to come against YAHAWASHI, but that won't work with their fighter jets and all these things. I'm going to read verse 6. I watched as he carved a great mountain for himself and flew onto it, which YAHAWASHI is going to be on the biggest chariots, the fathership. Verse 7, I tried to see the region or place from which the mountain was carved, but I couldn't. That's because the chariot will be so huge, the whole world will see him. As it said in Revelation, behold, he cometh on cloud, and all eyes will see him, even they that pierce him. Verse 8, after this I looked, and I saw that all who had gathered to do battle against him were sorely afraid, yet they dared to fight. When he saw the rush of the multitude coming, he didn't raise up his hand or hold a spear or any weapon of war. Rather, I saw something like a wave of fire shoot forth from his mouth. That would be the laser beam coming from the chariot. And a breath of flame from his lips, and a storm of sparks from his tongue. Spark will be shooting from the chariots. All these things, the wave of fire, the breath of flame, and the mighty storm, mixed together and fell upon the crowd that was rushing toward to prepare to fight, which is Esau, army men, and the fighter jets, so on. It burned them all up, so that suddenly nothing was seen of the innumerable mob, except the dust of ashes and the smell of smoke. I saw this and was amazed. They be all zapped. Verse 12, all these things that I saw, the man coming down from the mountain, calling to himself and another crowd, a peaceable one, a peaceful one. So yeah, after all is said and done, when YAHAWASHI and the angels take Esau and his dragons out the way and his armies, that's what's going to happen. Lord's will, this was edifying. Shalom.
Which is one of our most highly maneuverable aircraft, can perform about 17 Gs before you start having structural failure. Wings begin to snap off. The objects we're seeing are doing 300, 400, 500, 600 Gs. Obviously well beyond the healthy limitations of anything to
At this stage, the rocket was traveling between 11 and 14,000 miles per hour when a saucer-shaped craft entered the frame.
It flew into the frame like this, and it shot a beam of light at the warhead. Now, remember, all this stuff is flying at several thousand miles an hour. So this thing fires a beam of light at the warhead, hits it, fires another beam of light, and then flies out the way it came in. And the warhead tumbles out of space. Now, when the lights came on, Major Mansman turned around and looked at me and said, "Are you guys screwing around up there?" And I said, "No, sir." And he said, "What was that?" And I said, "It looks to me like we got a UFO."
Well, behold.
Established for the record, these are real. We are over the Rubicon on that. That has occurred. In the last 3 years, the government has said UAPs are real. We have established a task force. We are providing a report to Congress. They're receiving classified briefings. This is whatever it is real.